when somebody like Wendy Williams says, yo, I want you to be my co-host, then you gotta accept that position. Like I never went in there thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna come take over her trap. This is her trap. That the big pink chair is Wendy Williams. Whatever role she needs me to play, I'm gonna play. And I think that's a lost art. Like people don't know how to play their position anymore. Yes. Me and a person don't have to be best friends anymore. But if that person gave me an opportunity, I'm never going to forget that. And Wendy definitely did that. Why do black people always gotta be compared to white people? But why do I gotta be the hip hop Howard Stern? Why can't I just be, you know, Charlamagne the God? I think white people do that when they're trying to explain to other white people what we are. You know what I mean? Like, I keep hearing about this Charlamagne person. What is he? Well, he's like the hip hop Howard Stern. They want to say black. I feel like they do that with any outspoken black media personality.
Hey, what's going on? I'm your girl, Jamila Mustafa with BET Talks. Joining me today is one of the most unique and compelling media personalities in the world. He's an Emmy award-winning producer. He's a New York Times best-selling author who's shaping the culture one conversation at a time. Please join me in welcoming the illustrious, the iconic, the inevitable, the great Charlamagne the God.
Jamila.
What's going on, my guy?
How are you? You good?
Listen, man, I'm doing better than ever now that you're here.
That was dope, because you ain't even got no teleprompter.
Listen, you're the biggest prompt we need, man. How you doing? listen, man. I'm gonna jump right into it. Can we have a little fun?
Absolutely.
Okay, this or that, but don't feel like you gotta rush it.
All
right, your skin is glowing.
Thank you very much. And I just came from vacation. I was in a beautiful island that I love called Anguilla, so yeah, I got sun-kissed.
Here we go. Marvel Comics versus DC Comics.
Oh, Marvel.
Your favorite Marvel?
My favorite Marvel is Wolverine. You know, I got Wolverine tattooed on my arm right now. I got this when I was 17 years old in South Carolina when tattoos were illegal. But the ill thing about this, right? This is before I was even in radio. This is when I used to rap. So Wolverine is holding a mic in his hand. And the thing I used to always love about Wolverine is I used to love his healing powers. Right? So in my mind, this represented rap because of the microphone, and I always felt like if I could recover from anything fast in my life that hurt me, I would just always keep forward momentum going. Like I always felt like that. I always wanted to recover fast. But then as I got older, the microphone symbolizes radio and podcasting and everything else, and it's like the healing is the journey that I went on through therapy, and now I feel like that's my life's work, you know, helping other people get on their healing journeys as well.
So did you get in trouble? Because you know, not only was it illegal, but you were kind of young. So like, you got a big Wolverine. What did mom and pop say about that?
I don't think I got in trouble, because I think at that point I was past getting in trouble. They were like literally just letting me bump my head and figuring it out.
As long as you could pay for it.
That's ill you asked me that question though, because I've always historically been a big Marvel fan, and I love the MCU. But I literally just said last week, I was like, yo, between Blue Beetle, Superman, the Harley Quinn character, and Peacemaker, DC got my interest.
Now what's
They got
Blade?
my interest. Blade is Marvel.
Come on.
They can't get that right though. The MCU hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah, that Marvel right there. I'm a Karate Kid. That Marvel right there, Blade. I am Bladette. That's a female version. Yes.
Well, you know they're supposed to do Blade with
Mahershala Ali, but you know they killed everything with that.
They figuring it out.
Come on, man. We need that. Okay, South Carolina or New York?
South Carolina, that's where I'm from. You know, that's where I'm born and raised. Like I wouldn't even have made it to New York without South Carolina. Like being in South Carolina on the radio, that's how I even got connected with Wendy Williams, because Wendy was syndicated on Hot 103.9. South Carolina is everything to me. That is the foundation that I stand on. Now, don't get me wrong, New York might be the house, right? New York is the house that was constructed because, you know, because of New York City, I'm able to have this, you know, amazing media career that I've had.
You even got the New York accent.
Really?
A little bit.
People say that, but I've never really had like I've never had a Geechee accent. Like you might hear it when I say certain words like street, straight, strong, stuff like that.
But you getting your bag.
Yeah, but I don't have like that Geechee, you know what I'm saying? Like box you in your mouth accent, you know what I mean?
I heard it just now. When you did that Geechee with your arm up,
Cause I do it on purpose, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's always gonna be South Carolina.
Now the Guy Code or the nightly show with Larry Wilmore?
Oh, Guy Code. Guy Code is what started it all as far as television is concerned. You know, when I got with Breakfast Club in 2010, I think I signed the overall deal with MTV2 in like 2012. And you know, back then I didn't even know why they wanted to sign me for television. I'm like, yo, I'm a radio face. I got a face for radio, you know? And I remember I signed that deal for like $55,000, not even knowing what it is they wanted me to do. I thought that was amazing money back then, because it is. $55,000 is a lot of money. If you think about what Guy Code did, Guy Code is very slept on. I was on God Code. Lil Duval was on God Code. Pete Davidson was on God Code. Andrew Schultz was on God Code. Chris Stefano, was on God Code. And then that spun off into Girl Code. Girl Code gave you Nicole Byer, Aquafina, Carly Aquilino, Jessie Mae Peluso. Like all of these amazing people came from, both of these shows. So it's always gonna be God Code.
Now, Howard Stern or Wendy Williams?
Wendy Williams. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get me wrong, I love Howard Stern. Howard Stern is definitely one of those people that was an inspiration to me, but Wendy gave me an opportunity. Wendy is the person who was like, yo, we want you to be her co-host. So they gave me opportunity. I'm loyal to the soil regardless of what a relationship may have turned into. Like me and a person don't have to be best friends anymore or be close anymore, but if that person gave me an opportunity, I'm never going to forget that. And Wendy definitely did that.
As they say, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And
Absolutely.
So when you were in second chair, although your voice, your personality, your comments, you just shot through the roof in listeners' heart, and it was like, who's that guy? Were you complacent with her being the superstar, or did you always know, even when she was giving you the opportunity, that I can really lead a pack, I can have my own show, I can really do this?
Oh yeah, I knew that, but I knew my time would come. You got to think I came from doing that. I worked at 4 different radio stations in South Carolina. I always had my own show, but when somebody like Wendy Williams says, yo, I want you to be my co-host, then you got to accept that position. Like I never went in there thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna come take over her trap. This is her trap, you know what I mean? Like this is her, that the big pink chair is Wendy Williams. I am her sidekick, I am her co-host. Whatever role she needs me to play, I'm gonna play. And I think that's a lost art. Like people don't know how to play their position anymore. And all I thought to myself was, if I do what I'm supposed to do here as her co-host, then I will get my opportunity, to lead my own show one day in New York.
But that's that game from the South that come from that hustling, and you're patient. So
being humble.
And being humble.
Yeah.
Just to go back on that one, so boom, how Wendy Williams over Howard Stern, but Rolling Stone called you the hip hop Howard Stern. Do you agree?
It's a compliment, right? But then it's also like, why do black people always gotta be compared to white people? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know Howard Stern is a great, but why do I gotta be the hip hop Howard Stern? Why can't I just be Charlamagne the God? You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just be my own entity? I think white people do that when they're trying to explain to other white people what we are. You know what I mean? Like, I keep hearing about this Charlamagne person. What is he? Well, he's like the hip hop Howard Stern. They want to say black, you know what I mean? But they just say the hip hop Howard Stern. But I feel like they do that with any outspoken black media personality.
Okay, black privilege, opportunity comes to those who create it versus get honest or die lying. Why small talk sucks?
I'm gonna say black privilege, opportunity comes to those who create it. Even though I feel like Get Honest or Die Lying, Why Small Talk Sucks, to me is a better book. It's a better book only because I understand the art of writing books better. But black privilege was my first time actually writing a book, and I gotta say black privilege because that was my life up until that moment, all put in a book. So I was really just telling a story, and that book became not just an instant New York Times bestseller that was on the New York Times bestsellers list for like weeks. I mean, weeks. We had tremendous success. South Carolina, where I'm from, that's where the first anti-literacy laws were even created. So it used to be illegal to teach the enslaved how to read or teach the enslaved how to write. So for me to be from South Carolina, knowing what my ancestors went through, and to have not just 3 national best-selling books, New York Times best-selling books, but to have an actual book imprint where I'm able to help other black creatives tell their stories, that's everything.
It's gonna be a library. It's giving national treasure.
We've had a good year, even this year. I mean, we put out Don Staley, Uncommon Favor, and that's super smash hit book all over the New York Times bestsellers list. My girls, Mandy and Weezy, they put out their first book, No Holds Barred. That made the New York Times bestsellers list. And we're about to put out Cheryl McKissack. McKissack is a construction company, and it's like 7th-generation, black-owned, black woman owned construction company. Some of the greatest buildings and institutions that you've seen in America, from the Barclays Center to Lincoln Field in Philadelphia. They had a hand.
I would love to see that
building.
adapted into a film, a TV series. It's coming, but we gotta talk about this because this is what I'm excited about. Not the Illuminati, but your Illuminati. That's what I'm worried about. Your Illuminati, not the Illuminati, but your Illuminati. It came highly demanded, right? Crushed it 2024. I mean, you're killing it. They're like, okay, we need more illustration to the development, to the creation. It's very highly Black power in terms of that space. Tell me about Illuminati, the 5-part graphic novel.
A lot of that stuff that you're seeing now, I've been working on for years. You know what I mean? I'm a comic book head, so I've always wanted to get into the comic book world. I had the pleasure of, writing a couple of, stories for Marvel.
What stories was you writing for Marvel?
It was they used to do these one-off things called Marvel Voices, where they go get comic book heads like myself or Method Man or somebody to write a story. I did 2 stories. I did one that was based on Blue Marvel and another one that was based on the Inhumans. Yeah.
So this was coming. This was in the pipeline.
Absolutely. My man Axel Alonso, who's a legend in the comic world, he came to me about this Illuminati idea, and I loved it because you're able to tell stories without telling stories. So I always say this graphic novel may or may not be based on a true story. So with the conspiracy that exists about the Black Illuminati, and you can go on YouTube and all the Reddits and everybody else and see what people are, saying about what they think the Illuminati is, I just felt like it would be dope for me to put out a comic book kind of playing with people's feelings towards that.
Really quick, I just want to see if you can name 5 Black-owned comic book publishers.
Darkstorm Comics by my man Kevin Graveau. Milestone, definitely. Milestone is the OGs of it. Oh man, those are 2 I know. I don't. Oh, my man Black Sands Entertainment.
Come on, you know this. You ain't playing.
I don't know. Those are 3.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 2.
Okay, give me 2.
Urban Styles Comic.
Okay.
And Unique Studios.
Yeah, I'm not hip to them.
Okay, well listen, all you need is 3. That's
Right.
technically a passing score, baby. Okay, all right. The passion you can feel it. Your knowledge, your passion, your love for this. But let's get into the tales because I love how it ties into music, it ties into culture. And the first one, of course, is DMX, one of my favorite albums. Tell me about why you decided to tell the stories the way, you're telling them.
The DMX cover that you're referencing, Axel Alonso, he did these hip-hop variant covers for Marvel Comics back in the day. And I remember going up there one time, man, and just getting all of them. I had all of them because he did Luke Cage and Iron Fist do the infamous cover, right? And he had Wolverine doing the flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. So when we decided to launch this, he was like, yo, let's do the hip hop variant covers. It just makes sense because you a hip hop radio personality. The story doesn't have anything to do with DMX. That's just the variant cover. But I wanted to tell the story of just what people are willing to do for fame, what people are willing to give up, not to, give away the story, but you do have these people who prey on individuals. I'm a big lover of the supernatural as well. Growing up in South Carolina, I always believed in spirits.
Were you into myths, Greek mythology and
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I'm into Greek mythology. I'm into, the African mythology, absolutely.
I see the Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
He was no myth though.
He was a real deal.
That was a real man.
He was a real deal player.
Absolutely. So I just felt like it would be a good thing to mix all of those things into this book, the supernatural, spirits and how they can guide us, and just what people are willing to do, to make it in this industry.
Why?
And how it's not worth it. That's the ultimate takeaway from the book, but you got to read all 5.
That's what I was gonna say. You have to get to all 5 because it's she comes, it's the sister involved, it's the record deal, it's the rising pop star, it's the sudden death. As readers are going through this, will there be tales that's oh, this kind of reminds me of this person that I heard of, or Aaliyah who passed away, or this, or is it something completely fiction?
Remember what I told you, it may or may not be based on a true story.
Why was it important to have Black creators be a part of this when you could have had anyone in the world?
It's so interesting. I don't even look at it as having Black creators. I just look at it as, finding the dopest people possible. So when you talk about, Dennis Cohen is just one of the dopest artists out there. When you talk about, the writers that were chosen, this is the best of the best. This is the cream of the crop. So it's not even about oh, that person's black, that person is dope.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Dennis Cohen is one of the founders of Milestone. You talking about Static Shock, you talking about Hardware, you talking about Icon and Rocket. Like he drew all of those, you know, amazing characters, man. We did a in-store signing at Midtown Comics a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
The people that were there just to meet Dennis and coming with copies of Static Shock
That's
to sign
real
and
fan
Hardware.
base. That's
Oh
pandemonium.
my
They think a
God.
pop star, but wait till
Oh my God. And that's why even when you asked me the question about DC and Marvel, I thought about it for a second because I've always historically loved Marvel, but you know, I've really gotten into Milestone. And if DC, you know, adapts anything from Milestone and they get, you know, Ryan Coogler, because you know you've been hearing about James Gunn wanting
Yes.
Ryan Coogler to direct something. If he connects with guys like Dennis and Reggie Hudlin and those guys, and they bring the Milestone universe to DC, oh man.
it'll be killer. Do you write your own stories just for fun sometimes?
All the time.
When's the last time that you wrote a good comic story?
This weekend. All the time. Like, all the
Seriously?
time. Yeah, I write. Like I'm a writer. Like I like to write. Like I write TV shows, I write movies, I write books. You know, one thing I've learned lately is I'm an idea guy. So I'll flesh out an idea and then take it to the people who really have the time to do it. But I definitely come up with a lot of ideas, a lot of stories, write them out to the best of my ability, and then say, here.
Are you anti-AI? As a man with a nasty pen game, is something about like when you read, people say when you're a reader, they want to smell the pages of the books. When you write, you want to see that fresh ink.
Yeah.
Is that why you won't go to AI just to knock it out?
I'm not anti-AI if you're a real creative. You're the one leading and
Yes.
curating what ChatGPT is doing or whatever it is. I'm not anti it. I'm anti it for people who aren't even creatives and they just getting stuff from ChatGPT and
pitching it to you.
yeah, I'm
Well,
not.
I got a new show.
Exactly.
When you talked about that, to me, I can see it. You know, the writing, the television, the novels, everything else, and you have so much more to do. The film, the TV, so much. You can even do a whole Charlamagne the God amusement park. But this is one thing I'm curious about, right? If you were to drop another South Crack album, taking it back to the South Crack album compilation, who are some of the artists that you would put on the 2025 Charlamagne the God South Crack album?
That's a great question. Trap Dicky, my man Lil Boss. I think that there's even room for somebody like an 803 Fresh who gave the world that anthem, Boots on the Ground, this year.
That's a nasty combination.
There's a lot of talent that is coming from, you know, South Carolina right now. The music thing is something that people in South Carolina want really bad. They really want to see somebody from South Carolina really have success. Like in, you know, North Carolina, they've had DaBaby, they've had J. Cole, they got Rhapsody, they got Little Brother,
got
like
festivals.
P.D. Pablo. Like they've had that success, you know, in hip hop. You know, South Carolina hasn't necessarily had that success. So that is something that's always in the back of my mind. I just personally,
It's on the front of mine. That's
It's
why
on the
we
front of
want
yours?
it. We need this.
I don't have the passion for it. I'm gonna be totally
Okay.
honest. I used to have a real passion for it. So like you talk about South Crack the album, like that was the album that, you know, I came out of my own pocket to fund that, and I ain't even had no money. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I had a distribution deal with EMI, and I was asking favors from these artists, and we didn't have no money for videos, nothing. But it was good because there were people who ended up getting signed because of that. Because at the time, I was just using the platform. I was on Wendy Williams' show, put out this album. That album might have sold like 300 copies or something crazy like that. But there were people who heard that album and signed folks off it. I don't necessarily have a passion
Yes.
for the music, but there are a lot of people from South Carolina.
A lot of talent.
A lot of talent, you know,
That
people that are
South Crack
doing the
is crazy.
Southern Soul. If I have the opportunity to just continue to shed light on those people,
Yes.
and go get people like my niece Chris Kalen, or my dude DJ Frosty, or my man Chuck T, my other guy Ty from South Carolina, they have a passion for that. If I can say, all right, y'all give them the opportunity to launch a label and, you know, put these artists from South Carolina on, I'll definitely do something like that. But as far as me, I don't necessarily have the passion for it.
We might not bring it back on the South South
Not me.
Crack.
I wouldn't
Okay.
do it, but you know, somebody, one of my youngins
But
would
it's a
do it.
classic. Comics, music, reading, 5-part series. If you're not a diehard fan, why should you tune in to Illuminati?
You might not want to, you know what I mean? Like, this is like, I don't force anything on anybody. Like, you know, I think that we created an amazing, you know, body of work, and you may not be a fan of Charlamagne, but you might be a fan of Dennis Cohen, right? And you might say to yourself, like, man, I like what Dennis did with Milestone all these years, so I'm gonna go check this out. You might be a fan of Axel Alonso, right? You know what Axel Alonso did with Marvel, you know, back in the day. So you might say to yourself, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go check that out because of them. If I had to try to sell it to somebody, I would simply say, if you're a conspiracy theorist who loves to get online and, you know, go on YouTube or Reddit or, you know, the comments in Instagram or on X and go down these rabbit holes of things, I may or may not be giving you the story right here. I may or may not be giving you all the clues and telling you what's going on, you know, in this book called Illuminati. So if you're a conspiracy theorist, which most people are, I think you're gonna love it.
When you said the conspiracy theorist, most people are, you were looking right at me, and you know I am into that.
Your last name is Mustafa. I know you a conspiracy theorist, okay? You already know.
Listen, brother Charlamagne.
That's right.
But hear me out on this one. You have the sports realm. You are an entrepreneur, you're in the business world. What is distinct about the music industry and the Illuminati that you decide to set this in the music industry?
I think a lot of the things I'm adjacent to, but the music industry is something that I've been in since, you know, 1998. Like, I've seen some things, you know, I've been around, you know, a lot of things, and I've heard a lot of different, you know, stories. So the music business is the business that I can speak to. You know, those other worlds I can't speak to. I'm not into them. I'm adjacent to them. I'm adjacent to the movie industry. I've produced a couple of films, you know, I've produced a couple of TV shows, but I'm not in Hollywood.
Yes.
Like, when it comes to the music business, I know that world pretty well.
Well, since you know it so well, is the Illuminati real?
I think there's a lot of secret societies that exist. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not in one that I know of, you know what I mean? But I feel like me and my crew, we always say, we quote Jay-Z all the time, we're a secret society, all we ask is trust, right? So, I mean, I do feel like there's a lot of different secret societies that exist in a lot of different industries, and you never know who's, you know, really behind the curtain. I tell you one thing, if the society is so secret, damn, everybody knows about it. That's the worst kept secret in the world.
Like Cat Williams said, the first thing that they do when they sell their soul is to convince everyone that they didn't. This is why I need to go see Illuminati 5-part series, because now you got me wanting to know what's going on.
I don't think, you know what, I love that you brought that statement up, because I heard Cat Williams say that too. And I don't think people convince you that they didn't. I think that you can look at a person's life and look at a person's character and see that they did. I think that you can see soulless people. I think you can look in a person's eyes and see that there's nothing there. See a lot of these people crash and burn, because at some point, you know, you in that plane gotta come down.
Yes.
A lot of these people's plane come down and the wheels don't come out. So they end up crashing. And I think when you see—
Is that like the comic? Is that why when she goes and her sister dies?
In the first issue, what she's trying to figure out is, she knew her sister was flying high, but how did she crash? The plane crashed, so she's trying to figure out how, you know, did she crash? But think about that, right? That is a person who clearly sold their soul. When you read that first issue and you see how that person ended up, that person sold their soul. When you succumb to the drugs, when you succumb to the alcohol, when you succumb to the women, when you succumb to the men, when you submit your will to the devil that exists in all of those spaces, that's when you know you've, you know, sold your soul. So it's like when Kat says people's job to convince you that they didn't sell their soul. No, you can see when somebody sold their soul. Absolutely.
And this is why we got to go tap in with this Illuminati, because there's a lot of hidden nuggets in here. And I know you said it's about the music industry, but this just seems like you can learn a lot about life, just in general, about temptation and all those things through this graphic novel.
I completely agree. You know,
Charlamagne,
I completely
got to get up out of here so I can go get my copy.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. You need no outro. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for doing it for us all. And it ain't no hip-hop Howard Stern. You are the Charlamagne the God. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate that.
Woo, woo!